Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Thrive Co-Living podcast and YouTube broadcast. Thrive Co-Living is a new concept in creative community building. Sustainable, multicultural, multi-generational, and inclusive, Thrive Co-Living communities are built from repurposed big box stores or other suitable buildings. In this series, myself, Jennifer Hooper, and Thrive founder, Mark Stein, will weave together the tapestry that makes up the physical and spiritual components of this new concept in community living. Now on with the show. Hello and welcome to the Thrive Co-Living Communities show. My name is Jennifer Hooper. I am your co-host along with Mark Stein, who is the co-founder of Thrive Co-Living. Welcome aboard today, Mark.
Yeah, same.
Today we are joined by Harris Ambush. He is the co-founder and partner of radschools.org, a decentralized collaborative lab. And I can't wait to dig in and just learn more about what that term actually means. Hi, Harris. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. And I thought we might just open the questioning really by giving you a blank slate. Can you tell us about yourself and a little bit about your organization and what you're doing?
Yes, sure. So I am in Florida currently right now, born and raised in St. Petersburg, and had the good fortune to be surrounded by a big family, extended family in the area. Grew up with both athletics and academics as a big part of my life. Through that, I learned a lot of the beauty of connections, the beauty of teamwork, communication, and I was really fortunate to kind of start to align those things both with my passion, play, and purpose, and follow the great art of education. And through that, a lot of trial and error, a couple of decades later, and now I'm fortunate enough to be working with a great team, and we're hoping to continue to do some really great, amazing work in the area. I started with an undergrad in international business and kind of did the shift in a grad program to education, started teaching education, really found a calling, and it was a passion. With connections to K through 12 schools as well. So kind of got the whole gamut and was really fortunate to kind of pull it and tie it all together. And that's where we are now.
Harris, before you keep going, can you repeat the last thought that you had? Because you froze for a moment.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'll edit it together.
So what part should I go at?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was about education and then tying it together.
Okay. So after years of working with both students in K through 12 and higher ed, I was really fortunate to kind of, again, tie everything together, gaining the experience, the knowledge, the play, of course, that is a really important part of learning, and was able to move it forward with a partner of mine, a colleague, partner, and friend, and develop Rad Schools. And what radschools.org is a collab of learners, teachers, community leaders, and we really focus on bringing the ties together of learning, not just education. That could surround so many different elements. So our collab is built on people who have a passion, purpose to play in their own arena. And we're kind of bringing all these people who really have a lot of knowledge in the field to come together and shine. So we're basically a decentralized learning group that brings people together to organize some of their best and brightest ideas and bring them out to the community in ways where we can really make a difference and really gain momentum, not just a plan, but actually put things in motion and gain momentum.
When you say learners, are you bracketing a certain age range, or is it all over the map? Tell me more. How does that work?
It's one of my favorite things to talk about. We are all lifelong learners as people on this earth. One of the biggest things I love to say is that learning happens everywhere. Um, Wherever we are, learning is happening. Learning is going on right in this call right now. When I was working with the universities I was at, I would joke with people that what's happening in the School of Business isn't business; it's learning. And they're talking about business, but they're actually learning. So learning is just incorporating everything we go. Whether you're learning a new recipe at home for cooking, whether you're taking an art class, even if you're just talking to a new person you've never met before, there's just constant connection to learning. And connection is the biggest thing I think that we all have as humans. There's two things I think that we sometimes overlook the need for. Of course, when you talk about Maslow's, you talk about food, air, water. Obviously, we need those to survive. But the things that we really need too are two things that I really want to focus on, not just in this call, but through our work. And one is connection. That's connection to the learning material, but that's also connection to each other. That's connection to how we bring our best selves to each other. It's connection also to ourselves internally through mindfulness and practice, through awareness. The other thing that I think gets really overlooked, a lot of the work I've done with some of the younger students and even adults, the second thing is being valued. And being valued is so important in whatever you do too, whether that's a work environment, a home environment, whether you're with your friends. And that's also, again, ties into yourself, valuing yourself. So the two things I think are the biggest two things that I really like to focus on in the work that I do is connection and value. And we offer both of those in the work that we do, but I think that's also an intentionality that we put forth with our collab. Each person's coming through building more connections, but they're also bringing value. They're bringing value to what they bring, self-value. They're also bringing value to radschools.org, but then ultimately bringing value to the community and whoever we're serving. And that's two things that I think are so important in not just learning and education, but just in a life system.
Love it. I'm nodding all like right along as if people listening to the podcast can hear me. But
we probably shouldn't go too far without talking about some of the changes, rad changes, pardon the pun, that are going on right now in education. And I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts on it. We probably could do a podcast entirely on it. One of the things that I'm seeing in a broad sense is that this pandemic is bringing about changes that were already in the works, but it seems to be accelerating those changes and those things that were in process. Video conferencing, for one. There has not been that much of it, and now we're all doing it all the time. But what are some of the changes that you're seeing, hearing about, both for the good and challenging with this era?
Right. So that's, a huge part of education right now. Again, not just for K through 12 or higher ed, but just everyone's learning in different ways right now. One of my mantras is lean into it, whatever it is, whether you don't like it, if it's changed, if it's a challenge, the more you push and fight. One of the things that we're trying to really organize is more of a flow. So, and you said it perfectly, Mark. This was already occurring. It just kind of accelerated certain things. Some of the, I look at a lot of different ways of perspective, and perspectives we all have our perspective. It's through the lens that we're looking through. That's how we really live our lives. Yet the idea of perspective, that it's just constantly changing both within ourselves and within society, allows us that opportunity to create something where we can move forward and not have to be moving backwards. Whether you like online learning or not, it is here to stay. I remember when I was in my grad program quite a while ago, and I was taking an online class, kind of confused, like, what is this? Why am I paying for this? And this was, early on when this was occurring. Um, and then I started to talk about it. My brother and sister are both educators as well, and we started talking about the ups and downs, all the everything that occurs with online learning. And again, this was over a decade ago. And face to face has its immense strengths. But if you really think about each individual learner, which is my area of education, is holistic learning. You can't say that every learner benefits face to face. Whether you like it best or not, that's not fair to say. Each individual likes that. And I know certain families whose children are thriving online, and other families where they're not. And I think right now the biggest opportunity we have, and that's one of the things I want to say too about perspective, is if we look at it different and say not what is the problem, but why is this an obstacle? And that allows us to get over that obstacle sooner. And if we can say then, not how can we help, but how can we create change? Well, again, that's where we lean into things. Change occurred, whether we control it or not, whether we want it to happen or not. And it's going to continue. And COVID really accelerated this. It highlighted this. It highlighted a lot of the inequities. And I think one of the things we need to do, again, besides leaning in, is allow what works best for our students. Now, last year in 2019, 3% of learners in Florida were homeschooled. And I will guarantee you after COVID, it will not be 3%. It will be much, much more. And whether parents are able to do learning from home or not, they're obviously learning ways to do it. If they have their kids home, they're being flexible. They're finding ways to balance all of these interests with their work and their children's schoolwork. But again, not every family is going to go back to school. And that goes in with the idea of we're starting to really understand what works better for each individual. And that's exciting to me because I think that's where education and learning need to go anyway. And we just accelerated this. So yeah, of course we accelerated the technology part of that. That's obvious. But I think now what I'm really excited about is we are accelerating how best practices are and how our learners, whether that be K through 12, higher ed, and even adults, how we can best learn. And now what we can do is move forward and understand with more awareness, understand our benefits and our barriers, and go and be better learners. So that's where I'm excited with this whole thing. Again, can't control COVID. We obviously know that. We can very much take health and safety into an immense amount of protocol and focus on that. Yet at the same time, we have to learn the best way we can, and that's where I think we're going forward with this.
What you're talking about, where there's no one size fits all model, really resonates with me. I think that's so true in education. It's why I homeschooled my children for a number of years, long before COVID.
Yeah.
And also, my brother has 5 children. Some of them are thriving at home, and some of them are really struggling. So even within families, it's diverse and different, and everybody has a different need or challenge or excitement.
Certainly, I have a particular friend who has 3 children, and he has all 3 children in 3 different learning environments right now.
Yeah.
And they're doing well. Each individual one is doing well. It's a lot more work for them, and not every parent's able to do this. So we have to really recognize the ability of families to find what works best for their kids. But yeah, this is the highlight right now. Where if we don't look at all the obstacles and the problems, we look at the opportunities. there is a great, immense opportunity here to really find the best way for our young learners and adult learners to move forward.
It requires such a paradigm shift, though. I mean, this isn't how we've been doing it. People were thrust into this environment. So it's nice to hear that, maybe some best practices are emerging and, the hybrid models. I feel bad for teachers right now who
Yeah.
weren't planning on this.
Yeah, a lot of my teacher friends are, and some of them are having obstacles and opportunities as well right now. A lot of my
Mhm.
teacher friends are having a tough time. Other ones are finding a flow. And, we've got to give a lot of love and respect to the teachers continuously. I think that's to the all teachers right now, and the families too. I think it's something that we again are really learning a lot. And from an educational standpoint, this is the part of the decentralized education that grad schools has been discussing for years. And that doesn't just mean where it's not at a school. What it means is there's different types of learning. What it also means is there's not a linear approach. A lot of societal standards are a very linear approach to things. It's from here to here. And now we're finding that there are multiple ways to understand the processes of learning, to understand the systems of learning, the systems that are in our society. One of the one of the works that we've been discussing a little bit, and I've been discussing this with another colleague, is the chaotic systems, which is a mixture between chaos and structure. And the way I would almost an example I would almost say is if you ever walked into a kindergarten classroom, and there's structure there, but it's also a little chaotic. And those young minds and young bodies are learning at an immense rate. But we've also seen this in the business world too, where there are companies that, yes, they have structures, but you don't have to be there 9 to 5 anymore. You don't have to. You don't even have to have a week or 2 weeks of vacation. They give you as much vacation. They allow that trust and transparency to move forward. And this is not a new model. It's just gaining a lot of clarity, and it's gaining some understanding more, where even, again, large businesses are doing this. I mean, mega businesses are doing this now because they're trusting their employees, and the employees now want to be there. So there's that reciprocity of collaboration and transparency where things are moving forward. In a school system, that sounds crazy, but it has a lot of potential if we're able to move in that direction for certain environments.
One of the educators that has influenced me the most is Sal Khan, founder of Khan Academy. And his book, The One World Schoolhouse, really influenced me as much as um, A.S. Neil Summerhill back at the turn of the 1900s in England. But I think he, uh, and I'll be curious as to some of your thoughts about it, but I think he really captured it well in talking about and emphasizing that each child is an individual and needs to have an individualized educational experience. And the fact that he has created curriculum that, as long as you have a cell phone and an internet connection, and thanks to Elon Musk, people around the world will soon have a satellite internet connection at a very low cost. Um, that anything from 1+1 is 2 up to organic chemistry can be available to
Yeah.
any kid anywhere in the world. So it really impresses me. Um, and I also I'm mentoring a young teenager during this period, and we got on, and he was struggling with some math, and we went right to those sections, and then so it's not all cut and dry. I saw that Pixar had a joint effort with Khan Academy to talk about animation and how they make animated features, and even gave exercises with demos of how to create this animation. So just very, very encouraging to me and inspiring to me.
Certainly.
What are some of your thoughts, and who are some of the people, uh, some of the educators that have influenced you?
Well, I certainly I do want to give a lot of respect to Khan Academy, and that is a perfect example of an open source where education is decentralized, and it's not just for one size fits all, but it's not also a small house. It's a plethora of knowledge. It's whatever you want at your fingertips, and that's where our future is going, is to open source anyway. And Rad Schools is an open source network. So what we do is open source, and we work with partners to create a lot more information um, and get it out there a little bit more to connect with people. Because education is a beautiful opportunity that everyone should have, no matter where you're at. So some of the people I've really enjoyed. I've had a great, I mentioned earlier, just a family of learners who have always allowed me to be both flexible and nimble, but also structured and learn in a way that really allowed me to flourish. I would say a great learner is experience. Experience certainly has taught me a lot, and that's something I really give a lot of value to. I think sometimes in our school system we focus too much on passing, and I like the idea where you could be in a comfortable environment of not passing. I won't say failing or falling down, but at the same time, learning ways to find other ways. You know, almost every inventor we hear about says, I did it wrong 100 times, and then that 101th time I did it right. I think we need a little bit more leeway and a little bit more ability for learners of all ages to feel okay with not getting it first the right time. And that can even shift the grades and allow students to really focus on just uh, learning what they learned when they didn't get the exact target. And that's really important. Um, Another big person that I really excited to share with or share about is Howard Gardner. Gardner's multiple intelligence theory was a big part of my educational learning. You're not familiar with him. He started with 7, then 8 ideas, and what he was saying is that everyone is intelligent in their own way. And now it's up to 11, but his main 8 uh, is kind of, it's like they have a little wheel, and it's almost like 8 slices of the pie, of 8 slices of pizza, and it's everything from linguistic, logical, mathematical, nature or naturalist, interpersonal, musical, body kinesthetic, and spatial. And what I've always found interesting about that, again, if you look at the 8 pieces of it in his original 8, our public school system really only focuses on 2 of those, really only focuses on the linguistic and really focuses on the mathematic logical. Now, of course, they have a music class and they may have PE, but there are so many opportunities for kids to really learn. There are kids who can tell you every single plant when they walk out of the school, every single tree, every single species of reptile. And that's fantastic. Yes, that gets pulled a little bit into the science piece, but at the same time, that is someone who's not really being highlighted in the public school situation. And Jennifer, I'm sure since you had your kids homeschooled, you could really understand that. Another big thing where I think is one of the biggest things that we're having a difficult time with is the intrapersonal part, being self-aware. And I think that's where we could gain a lot of benefit from our K through 12 schooling, because 2 things. One, I think kids are so overstressed, and I work with kids who are in elementary school for years through the college and also teaching. And these kids are telling me they have anxiety and stress. And, for a 6-year-old, 7-year-old to know these, sure, they might be mirroring what they hear, but at the same time, just if they understand or feel that way, and they do, they've expressed it to me. Um, I think we really need to be doing more awareness for that. I've been working with a lot of youth on mindfulness programs, self-awareness programs, social emotional learning, and we've gained immense benefit from that. So I think that's one of the things I think we really need to target a little bit better. And the second part is interpersonal, and that's being socially aware. And that doesn't mean just greeting people and knowing all that. It's gaining more emotional intelligence. And as we learn more about emotional intelligence, we know that's going to be one of the key factors of any group, any organization, any business, and definitely any personal relationships going forward, especially after COVID. But yeah, Howard Gardner is one, and then I some of my old teachers and coaches, to be honest with you. So a lot of mine are kind of personal. Even though I've studied so many beautiful examples of brilliant minds and some of their theories and what they've done in action, I like the personal connection to where I find my mentors.
Yeah, I think those personal mentors can make such a difference and have such an impact in our lives, for sure. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your educational approach to learning and the Thrive community. I understand you kind of reached out to us and said, "Hey, can we talk about Thrive and education?" And so, what is it about Thrive that really sparked your interest?
Well, first off, the word, it just offers a lot of connection, a lot of even spiritualism in a way. And my wife even has a sign in our house that she made herself that is a beautiful sign, and it says Thrive. So there's some personal meaning to me, but also the idea behind it is absolutely brilliant. If anything else, just the use of space is absolutely brilliant. But the idea of bringing people together of different walks of life, we all live in a community. Even if you live out in the woods, you live in a community, and we all live in different communes in a way. If you're in an apartment complex, you're sharing resources. If you're in a neighborhood, you're sharing the street and the electricity line. So we all sharing and connected in a way that sometimes we overlook. If we did that with intentionality, I think the possibilities are endless there. And what I mentioned earlier is people need connection so much. Well before COVID, people need that connection. That's why social media has gotten such a big push. It's that kind of little bit of that. I don't want to call it a false connection, but it's definitely a superficial connection. But we're all looking for that. In other countries, they take retirement homes and they put them right next to daycares.
Oh, I love that.
And if you think about the beauty of wisdom, because sometimes in our society we don't utilize this wisdom, the wisdom matched with the youthfulness. I mean, you're talking about a shared resource right there that is already set up. If you just got them together a little bit more. I mean, look at Mark. You said you have grandkids. I think imagine if that was going on even more, where the youth got the wisdom and the love of an elder, and then they got the youthfulness of a young 5-year-old. It's in a lot of, I think it's mostly so far in Scandinavian countries, but it's shown to be a really great model. So I think that's what's going to be really important. And you guys seem to already be showing signs of that, where it's going to be all ages in different realms. It's going to be people from all walks of life. We all pretty much know after COVID, everyone's going to be a little bit more mobile. Whether that people work from home or not. I think people are just going to be a lot more able to go to places they want to go instead of places that they feel tied down to for work or for other experiences. So a community such as this, you're offering everything that a person could need. It's almost like I don't want to call it a one-stop shop because I want to give it more respect than that. But honestly, again, going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you could hit every single hierarchy of needs in this environment and thrive there. That's again why I like the word. And it comes back to the two things I mentioned: connection and value. You could feel connection and value right there within your own proximity, and you could do it in a comfort level that you are feel best about.
And what we're thinking regarding education is opening it up, promoting lifelong learning, and starting out with what would be considered a co-working space, and then adding the educational component, which is part of working, a place to explore, to test. I envision, I've shared this in a previous podcast, I envision this big computer monitor in the room itself where each person who enters is listed. George is interested in learning about drones, and so that the other people in the room who are interested, who know something about drones, would be drawn to George to help him do it or offer some insights. And then to, we're also thinking about what will be the optimum communication platform for the communities, and having that tote board be one of the screens that people can tune into, so that you don't just have to be in the space.
Yeah.
Everybody will share what it is that they're interested in at the moment, whether it be teaching or learning, and then have this big lab. And part of it will be the whole community. You know, if we're doing aquaponics or having other types of gardening, the whole place will be a learning lab. But to have a designated spot with computers and other tools, mechanics tools, and so that we're all learning, we're all exploring, and not have it be age driven, so that we're all free to share there.
Yeah,
So
it's perfect. It's a beautiful idea. And from my educational standpoint, I've written on this before. I call this the buffet theory. So instead of handing someone the exact same food, like we might in a regular education environment, here's the same meal for everyone. Or even if you're on a flight, it's either this or that. Buffet theory says, here's the drone class you just mentioned. Here's the aquaponics class you just mentioned. Go choose what you want. You don't have to try it again, but it's on the buffet. So and that's the type of learning I get excited about, because now you're talking about people's passion, you're talking about people's interest, and the more we tap into that, I mean, that's just exciting. And but there's also more buy-in, there's more empowerment. And I always say education is not about learning, or education is about empowerment, because then they'll want to learn. It'll become more organic and authentic, and that's where learning really, really thrives in itself. And your space is going to be perfect for it. So I really like that idea. Um, just to have, it's kind of like if you go to a conference and there's breakout sessions, not everyone's going to the same place. They go to where they're interested in, and I think that's what you have the opportunity of doing.
in our first conversation, I think we immediately saw connections and ideas for ways to work together, just based on your knowledge of what Thrive is to be about, and knowing your organization. What are some of your thoughts for collaboration and overlap?
So before COVID, we've done some pretty neat gatherings. We did what was called a Rad Schools Jam for some of the elementary schools in the area, and we brought a half pipe, and professional skateboarders and BMX riders came. So the kids came out, and some of them had never ever heard of this before. And we work a lot in Title I schools, and the whole school came out in an assembly. And at the end, they may have not ever heard of these guys, but everyone was getting signatures and getting autographs and pictures. And it was just this experience like, what just happened? Like, that's the experiential learning where you may not remember much of your fourth grade, but you'll remember when professional BMX riders came, and you remember field trips like that. So my thought is to do these these big events. They don't even have to be big, but these experiential events that aren't just about learning, but they're about the experience of learning. They're about the experience that you don't just walk in and you get a lesson. You're meeting and greeting people. You're doing stuff together. You're collaborating. You're finding ways to carry it forward. That's one of the biggest things I think where learning has some issues is we go and learn something and then it doesn't get carried forward. I use the example of a conference. Yes, we may go to different places in the conference and learn about a topic, but what happens 2 weeks from now? A lot of times we might use certain things and then but the spark dies. The connections we made kind of die down. And that energy we felt inside that dies down. What we help do is carry that momentum forward. That's one of the strongest things radschools.org does is we help create that momentum with people. That's where we partner. So a perfect example is you guys might be hosting something. We jump in and we create something on the side to make it more of an experience. And then talk about ways to carry it forward, whether that be on wiki platforms or designing another meeting while we're doing that, or another event while we're there, but not losing that momentum. That's one of the toughest things I think both businesses, education, a lot of people lose that momentum and then it kind of gets lost. So we would love to kind of, that's why we call ourselves a collab. It would be your event, it would be Thrive's event, and we would be collaborating with you guys, just joining on the side, adding to it.
That's so cool.
And
yeah.
And for some of your initiatives, I could see having it there, not only because the space would be there, but a group of people that would embrace it and then use that as a springboard to bring even more people from the community in.
100%. A couple years ago, we collaborated with Cultura, which was a music event. It was more than a music event. It was a really great opportunity in St. Pete. And we're really hoping it comes back sometime because it was a great partnership. But we came and brought some of the educational pieces there. So there was a health piece there. There was a aquaponics and seeds event there. And this was part of the Open Partnership Education Network as well, which is a wonderful partnership that I think would be a great opportunity for Thrive as well. But with Rad Schools, we brought school leaders. So we brought principals, teachers, even area superintendents. We brought to the Cultura Festival, and we had Jeffrey Canada there, the founder of Harlem School Zone, came down to speak. So it wasn't our event. That's a perfect example. It was another event we added on and brought, Jeffrey Canada, who is extremely well known internationally. And then we collaborated. We brought the teachers there, and the teachers were now saying, and the administrators were saying, well, what's that over there? And then they started learning about other things. And that's the collab approach, not only with our team, but we're really a partner. And that's the strength of partnership. It's not, a lot of times it tries to say me or you, this or that. It's about us lifting each other up and making a much better experience for people to still talk about, still learn, and move that momentum forward.
I love it.
Yeah, it's exciting. It really is, and I can't wait for you guys to see it in motion because it's great opportunity.
Yeah, I really resonate so much with that experiential learning. I guess that's probably how I learn best is by doing and seeing and participating, and I see so much value in that, especially in a multi-generational environment where all these people are coming together from different places. I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mentioned earlier, a lot of kids may not remember parts of their fourth grade or fifth grade or middle school, but they'll remember a field trip. They'll remember certain events that happened. They might remember a graduation, but that experiential learning is so powerful. And schools are starting to tap into that more, not just the field trips, they utilize that, but more the collaboration, more bringing people in to really show how they can collaborate. And collaboration is, it's not just about working together. Collaboration is so much more than that. It's an awareness of the needs of a community. It's the awareness of a process. It's it, you have to know your strengths and other people's strengths and utilize those together. That's real collaboration. And collaboration is about reciprocity. And I think, the more in rad schools that org does that, the more we can offer that as a community. I think there's a lot of power in experiential learning through collab.
I know we need to wrap up here, but I find the St. Pete community to be so open and welcoming to this idea, just in general. It's like pre-COVID, of course. It's like getting a big hug whenever I'm on Central Avenue. All the arts offerings. I just feel a very warm feeling. And one of our first meetings about Thrive was to go to a local zoning board and actually a couple representatives of the zoning board. And of course, we expected bureaucrats that were going to pepper us with hard questions. And two of them walked in the door and they went, "This is so cool. Where'd you get this idea? This is awesome. We don't see any problem with it based on what you're saying. Like, come on in. The water is great."
Yeah.
So you've been there a long time. You've grown up there. I assume gone to school in some other places, but what is it about this community that makes it so welcoming, assuming that you experience the same thing?
Well, it's much different when I was growing up. I'm sure you guys have heard how St. Pete's very different, and it has been through a lot of ups and downs, and it still is. There's still some obstacles that we're trying to approach. But I think a lot of it, I'm not gonna lie, I think a lot of it has to do with the geography. It's there's a little bit more of a laid back yet still momentum building. There's an excitement about what could be, because this is still, while at times I think there's too much overdevelopment going up, there's still a lot of space for collaboration and building networks here. And I think it's just the start. St. Pete, if you look at it, it's got recognized now as one of the most visited or needed to be most visited places on multiple lists. So it ranks in the top 10 in a lot of lists, but it's still an open palette as far as creativity goes a lot. And that's the beauty here. I think what's also happening here is you're also getting a lot of people here who are, when I grew up, it was a much more of a retiree where they wanted to relax, go to shops, go to the beach. Now it's a much more active population who are retired, and it's actually a much younger population coming in too. So you're kind of getting both benefits. You're getting that, like I mentioned earlier, you're getting that wisdom, and you're also getting that kind of like that excitement and bewilderment. And when you add those certain elements, those are pieces of magic. Those are the pieces that you build that create magic, because there's just endless opportunities when you do that. Again, there's still a lot of things we really need to focus on and work on with equity, and building a lot more communication with multiple people in the community. But St. Pete has a lot of. It's one of the reasons why we have so many great artists and muralists here, is because it's an open palette, both literally and figuratively. And people come here not to just relax anymore. They come here excited. They move down here, or they're here seasonal or full time. But there's an excitement here that I haven't seen or heard of in a lot of other places. And a lot of cities are kind of revamping and getting that change. There's a cultural shift, I think, in certain cities throughout the nation. seems like you guys might be working to put a Thrive in many of these cities, which makes sense. But St. Pete really has that vibe. And of course, being in Florida, it's one of those things where things are going to get done, but there's also this idea that you're not going to be doing it walking through the snow, and so there's this excitement just to be here, and then to be a part of something. And actually, it rolls right around to how I started this whole thing. It goes back to connection and value. People are coming here and they're feeling connected and they're feeling valued in a way. They're getting involved more so than I think a lot of these people were in other cities that I've chatted with a lot of people on this. So yeah, it comes back. They're feeling connected and valued. And that's what St. Pete, I think, is offering right now. But yet again, we still do have to work a little bit more to carry that forward with our whole community.
Well, I feel like this is a conversation we could continue for hours, but in the interest of time, Mark, are there any last minute questions you would like to ask our guest?
No, just Harris, any other thoughts that you didn't get to share based on our questions that you would like to end with?
Adding on to that connection and value, I think one of the most important things is relationship, and connecting with people through relationship, and connecting with people through authentic and organic relationships, I think, is really important. One of my favorite quotes is Maya Angelou said, at the end of the day, people may not remember what you said or what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And I think about that constantly and that's why I love working in education, because it's a feeling. And that's what St. Pete kind of has this feeling right now. It's got this vibe and this culture that there's this feeling that we can really do a lot of really beautiful and amazing things right now. So again, I want to give you guys a lot of kudos. I think Thrive is a great fit for the area. I think it hits on a lot of points where it's environmentally friendly, it's socially brilliant, and I think it could really do a lot of wonderful things for our community. So I want to give you guys kudos on that.
Well, thank you. And I feel the same. I won't speak for Jennifer, although I can tell she's been enthused. The same about your mission. And I see lots of opportunities for us to work together and build with a similar vision behind it. So I look forward to continuing to communicate and work together.
Definitely.
Harris, we'll put your contact information and website in the show notes. So if people want to reach out to you and ask questions or get more information, they'll be able to do that.
Ask questions, information, throw out ideas. I mean, that's what we'd love to just throw it out an idea, see if it sticks. So that's Fantastic. The collab approach.
I love it. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it, and really enjoyed learning more about what you're doing. And like I said before, it really resonates with me. So
yeah, thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, look forward to speaking with you much more soon in the future.
Great. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Thrive Co-Living podcast and YouTube broadcast. To discover more about our mission, activities, and how to find us on social media, please check out our website at thrivecolivingcommunities.org. There you can also learn how you can support this creative vision in community co-living. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon.